Mike gave me a call the other day and asked me if I wanted to go for a rip with him. So he came over, he had to fix the back tire, and then we headed out for a ride. We rode on Saturday, meet DRZ and DRZ's young buddy Peyton, who's a motocross racer, and we didn't get as much done as we wanted to because Mike's bike got a flat tire, so we decided to go for a run today and do our favorite loop, or I should say my favorite loop, right down the road. But it's a great route for me anyway, so it's a lot of fun. And while we were talking, I was telling him how I was in Texas last week, and my two partners that were my partners back in the 80s when I owned the bar, the Bowery, came in. One, my buddy Jeff Franzino, who's from Connecticut and lives in LA, and then my other partner Shelby, who lives in Dallas. We all got together. We hadn't been together in over 30 years, so that was pretty crazy to get with them. And I was telling them, nice job. I was telling them how they had such memories of things that happened back in the day, and I didn't remember some of it, but I remembered some of it, and they did. You know, I was a young kid when I owned that bar, 25 years old. You know, owned it. We had it maybe 4 or 5 years. I don't remember exactly. And I was telling them, I said, they reminded me of a story, and I do remember it pretty well, of when James Brown played the club for me, or us, I should say. And it's a long story, and I told Mike, I said, oh man, remind me to tell you the story. He goes, yeah, sometime when I have time. He goes, well, why don't you just do it while you're showing your videos? Just tell the story as the videos go. And I was like, oh, that might be kind of fun. You get to, watch the video, the dirt biking, which is pretty crazy on this one. There's a lot of water and mud in this one. And Mike does some pretty wild stuff. And then, to make it interesting, I think the story's interesting. If not, just turn the sound down if you think it's boring. But anyway, it was about 1983, maybe 84. It's surely before 85, so maybe 84. We were booking a lot of big shows. The club was pretty big. It was a old abandoned church that was converted, and we bought it from the guys that converted it. And so it held probably, I can tell you what it was supposed to hold and what we put in there. They're two different figures, but we probably could put at least 1,500 people in there. So we started to be able to do pretty big shows. We've done bands like REM, Red Hot Chili Peppers played there, Dave Mason, Donovan. I mean, we did everybody. Bachman Overdrive. We did a lot of shows, and they're all different stories. Which, if this is pretty cool, I'll see how it comes out. I might just tell you a bunch. I probably have like 50 of these stories, maybe more, believe it or not, of different incidents, because it seemed like there was always something crazy going on in this place. It just was a crazy time. Young guys doing rock and roll bar, with all the craziness that goes on, and not really probably mature enough to deal with it, to be honest with you. So anyway, I get an opportunity to book James Brown on a Saturday night for 2 shows for $12,500 for the 2 shows, which I thought was an incredible steal. So we book them, we put the tickets on sale, we sell it out probably maybe 2 weeks in advance. I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to have a really good crowd, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. And to be honest with you, I get to hang out with James Brown and see the band, 4 feet away from me, because I can stand right on the side of the stage if I want to. Because obviously we own it. So we're really excited about it. And we're like, oh, this is great. And when you book a band, some of you might know this, some of you might not. You get a contract, and with the contract, it'll tell you, when to pay, who to pay. And usually what you do is you send half in to the booking agency before the show to reserve the date, and then you'll pay the other half after the show. That's pretty standard. That's the way everybody does it. So and then it will come with a rider. What the rider will tell you is what special things they need. Now, here's the trick for any of you that's going to get into this. You can strike a lot of that stuff out of there, because they'll put everything in there that you can imagine. They'll have you taking them for lobster dinners if you don't know to strike it. But anyway, there wasn't a lot in there. It was pretty clean. I didn't see any problems. It was, whatever. Typical hotel rooms, how many, food platters for dinner or whatever it was. It was nothing crazy. I was like, oh, that's great, cool. So, dates booked. Great. Saturday rolls around. I probably booked it maybe 4 months out, whatever it was. That's still 3-4 months. And the show's going to happen, and so everything's great. And then that morning of the show, oh, look at this water. I tell you, there's a lot of water in this, especially for me who doesn't like water. Anyway, day of the show, I get a phone call. I'm at the club, and one of my door guys goes, hey, phone call for you. I said, okay, great. And I get on the phone, and if you know anything about James Brown, you know he uses a guy called Danny. I call him Little Danny. I don't know his name. The guy that introduces him. It's a man's world, hardest working man in show business. Usually has on a white tux with tails. So if you know who that is, that's who's on the phone. And I'm like, hey. He goes, hey, just want to touch base and whatever. And I'm like, okay, great. He goes, are we all set? I go, yeah, we're all set. Waiting on you guys for sound check and whatnot. He goes, okay, great. He goes, Mr. Brown wants to talk to you.
No, I'll follow you.
And I'm like, I'm with my partners. I look at them. I put my hand over the phone. I go, James Brown wants to talk to me. So I'm just, oh, nice man. I'm just like, oh my gosh, really? He goes, yeah. James Brown gets on the phone, and I know it's cliche, but I am telling you the truth. He started to speak. I did not understand 3 words. All I remember him saying is, I really appreciate you white boys booking me for the night. I was like, yeah, no problem. And he goes, and he just, I didn't know. I took the phone away and had my partner listen because I was like, I have no idea what he's saying to me right now. And we're looking at each other like, okay. So I was kind of like yesing along and whatever. And I'm like, he was going on something about, how great it was that the young people, because we had a real young oriented club, young people were still into his music and blah, blah. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You're James Brown. You're the greatest, a musician of the era, greatest songs I've ever heard. So, I think everything's pretty cool. He goes, well, here's, Danny again. So Danny gets back on the phone and he says, by the way, what hotel are we staying in? And I had booked him into a really nice hotel downtown Oklahoma City, the Hyatt, Regency, really nice. I had him on the top floor, and then the band is dispersed because there's like 60 people in the band. There's a lot. I never counted it. I should. But there's a lot of people in this band. And they're dispersed among the floors because obviously you can't put 60 rooms together, so there's like whatever it is. But he's on the top floor. He's in the best room you can get in the hotel. And I go, yeah, you guys are at the Hyatt, blah, blah, blah. And you're in the presidential suite or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly, but the nicest room. He goes, okay. He goes, where's the band staying? I go, well, yeah, they're in the same hotel, but they're on the lower floors. He said, oh no. I go, what do you mean, oh no? He goes, James Brown will not stay in the same hotel as the band. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, James Brown. He goes, Mr. Brown. He didn't call him James Brown, by the way. Mr. Brown won't stay in the same hotel as the band. You need to get us a different hotel. It's Saturday night, late. I'm like, I don't know if I can get you another hotel. He goes, you're going to get us another hotel. I'm like, okay. Now, this is not on the rider. None of this is there. So, because I would have just done it. It was easy to do. But not at Saturday night at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not easy to do. It's a city. He goes, and by the way, what time is the limo coming to get us? And I'm like, your rider doesn't have anything about a limo. So I've got no arrangements for a limo. He goes, oh yeah. He goes, Mr. Brown's not coming to the show unless he's picked up in a limo. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do what I can do. You know what I mean? But I'm like, okay, whatever, great. See you later. So they hang up and I'm like, oh man, here we go. Because you can tell when it's going to go sideways, trust me. And, but anyway, I call around, and the only room I can get him is what they call an Embassy Suites. You might have stayed in one. It's like 1/10 the hotel that the Hyatt Regency is. I mean, one's a $300 room, one's a $75. It's like hysterical to me. But it's the only thing I can book. there's nothing. I mean, it's not a horrible hotel by any means, but it's not, like knocked out either. So I booked that, and then when I'm talking to them, I go, hey, by the way, do you have a limo service? Because sometimes they'll have people they can call and whatnot. She says, we have a limo. I'm like, oh, wow, that's great. I said, what's it cost to rent it? She goes, well, it's not that. He goes, the young kid that drives it, young guy who drives it, he's off tonight because it wasn't being used. I'm like, oh man, I said, I need a limo. She said, I don't think so. I said, listen, give me this kid's number. I need to talk to him if you don't mind. So she gives me his number. I call him up. He's a young kid, as it turned out, a young black guy, which is, thank God, because if it was a country redneck cowboy, who knows if he would have known who James Brown was. But I said to him, I said, listen, I need a favor from you. He's like, what do you need? I said, I need you to pick up and take home James Brown. He's like, James Brown, the James Brown? I go, yeah, the James Brown. He's like, no problem. I go, yeah, I need your limo. I said, you'll have front row seat. I said, you can have comp drinks, but I said, remember, you got to drive home, so it's stupid. And, you and a date, have your date meet you here. He's like, absolutely. So bang, 2 problems solved. I called Danny back, Mr. Brown's room. Of course, you want to talk to Danny now. I'm like, hey, here's the deal. I got you booked at Embassy Suites. He was ecstatic. He's like, great. I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy. But fine, if you're happy, I'm happy. No problem. So we book them in there. They go there. The band goes to the Hyatt, the nicest hotel. I think, okay, that's it. We dodged the 2 bullets, and now we're good. So I'm not thinking anything. The bus rolls up, and they unload probably 2 o'clock, maybe. First show I think was 8. I think I had 8 and 10, something like that, 8 and 11, maybe 8 and 11. And they unload, and James isn't with them, or Danny's not with them. It's just the band in the bus. I guess they were back at the Embassy Suites. So they get off, and I didn't realize it, but the band is huge. I'm telling you, there's probably 15, 16 people in the band. 2 drummers, bass, 4 horn players at least, 1 or 2 guitar players. I don't remember exactly. I mean, it was a big, big band. And they come in, and we had one really, really big dressing room, and then one what I would call average size dressing room. And I'm like, hey, I go, why don't you guys take the big dressing room, because there's 16 of you or whatever there is, and I'll put Mr. Brown in this dressing room. And they just start laughing. They're like laughing at me. I'm like, what? They're like, that's not going to work. I go, why? He goes, he's not going to do that. I said, oh yeah, well, the other dressing room actually was a little more decked out, the smaller one. I thought was a much nicer room. The other one, had a lot of graffiti in it. It was like kind of beat up dressing room. And they're just laughing at it. So anyway, I'm like, no, I got it, because I don't have a clue. I'm thinking, look at this water here. I'm like, I don't have a clue, but I'm thinking everything's cool. Mr. Brown will get there, and I'll take him in that dressing room. He'll be none the wiser. So they go in and they get all, dressed, and whatever they were doing. They do their sound check. I guess they weren't dressed, actually. They had all their uniforms with them, but they did the sound check. Everything's great. They sound incredible. This is when they had Maceo Parker. If you know anything about sax players, is considered one of the greatest sax players of all time, especially in the funk era. And he's there. I mean, all these really just big time players were in this band. This is pre-Bootsy, so they had all the big old time stars. And so they do the sound check. Everything's great. I'm thinking everything's great. They go off. We feed them. I don't remember much. I might even went home. I don't remember exactly. But I come back like maybe 4 o'clock or whatever, 4 or 5 o'clock. Maybe a little later, because that's when I think James Brown showed up around 6. Maybe the show was 7, as I said. I think 7 or 8. He shows up like me an hour before the show, and walks in. And I'm like, I introduce him. I get to meet him. Danny's with him. They're, it's like crazy. Come on, man. You meet James Brown. I mean, for some, it's like meeting Elvis Presley, or like for my father, meeting Frank Sinatra. We're talking about, a big-time musical idol at the time, especially. And I'm like just stoked. He came in, he had a woman with him, who I found out was his wife. He's not a tall guy, I'm telling you, he's probably 5'6" maybe. I was surprised. He's pretty broad, but he's not a tall guy. His wife was in heels. She was like 6'2", wearing a full-length mink jacket. I mean, from head to foot. It was crazy. You know, he introduces me to his wife, Danny, and say hello, and I'm telling you, I'm understanding every third word he's saying to me, but okay, great. I take him back to his dressing room, and he says to me, where's the band? I go, they're in the other room. He walks in, and he looks at that room, and goes, no, this is my dressing room. The band is in there. They start laughing hysterically. Told you. I'm like, you're kidding me. I said, Mr. Brown, this is the nicer room. Didn't matter. Didn't matter to him a lick. He wanted the biggest dressing room, and that was that. They just get up and walk out like we knew it, grab their stuff, and go into the dining. Remember, that room was so small, I had to put them behind the kitchen in a big, almost like empty warehouse space. They couldn't even fit in the little eating cabinet. They go in there, and so everything kind of calms down, and you know, everybody's getting ready for the show. The sound check is done. James Brown didn't even do the sound check. He was just, I guess they knew what they were doing. They'd been doing it so many years. He didn't need to be there once the band was settled. So everything's great. Let the people in. As I told you, it's a mob. It's wall to wall. I don't know how many people we put in there, but more than we probably should have. Forget the fire code stuff. We're doubling that. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is going to be wild fun. I mean, everybody's really excited. A lot of water in here. Look at this. And so I'm sitting there, and the show is supposed to start. I look out. I'm standing there, and the band takes the stage in the dark. You know, no lights, just standing up on the stage, and people start chanting, James Brown, James Brown. And if you ever heard the concerts they do, usually they always do that, but usually Danny's on the stage and kind of starts them up. No one was on the stage, and I'm sitting there for 10 seconds, and my doorman calls me because he had a guard at the door, at the stage door. He's like, he used walkie-talkies. He's like, you need to get back here. There's a problem. I'm like, what's the problem? He goes, just get back here. So I run back there, fight my way through the crowd, get back there, and I walk into the dressing room. And James Brown's sitting there. He's not dressed, with his wife and Danny just sitting there. And he goes, I need my money. I said, I sent the money. I think he's talking about the deposit, the first 65. I said, I sent it. I said, your agent's got it. He goes, no, because I need to get paid in full before the show starts. And I'm like, Mr. Brown, that's never the way it's done. Because I didn't have it together. I had to get it together. And I'm like, the band's on the stage. People are screaming. I mean, it's like showtime. It's going to take me, 10, 15 minutes to put it together? The guy doesn't care. He doesn't budge. It's like, I'm not going on. The band's not starting until I get paid. And I'm like, okay. I said, I said, my door guy's name is Todd. I'm like, Todd, who was a big country kid, by the way. I'm like, you need to get back there and start counting. Tell Shelby, my partner, I need the 625 now. And he runs back there. Shelby comes back with the money. I'm not kidding. It probably took 10 minutes because everything's in 20s. I mean, it's not like we're sitting on hundreds. 20s. It's the door money. And he walks in. He hands me the money. I hand the money to James Brown, and he flips open his wallet. He goes, do you know who I am? And I'm like, I look at Shelby. I go, the Godfather of Soul? I didn't know what to say. I had no idea what he was saying to me. He goes, no, I'm an agent for the federal government. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? I have no idea what he's talking about. And in his wallet, he had this little badge, like a little cop badge or something. He said, Ronald Reagan gave this to me. I'm an ambassador for the federal government. I'm like, I think we're in Twilight Zone. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't have any idea what to do or what to say. He's just staring at me like I'm supposed to know something. I have no idea. I looked at Shelby. I'm like, do you know what he's talking about? He goes, no. I'm like, I don't understand. He said, I don't need any tax problems. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what to do. Don't forget, I'm a 25-year-old kid. I have no clue what this man is talking about. I'm like, Mr. Brown, I don't know what you're talking about. Here's the money that you told me to pay. You're paid in full. Let's just do the show. I said, I don't know anything about taxes. I said, I'm just paying you. You do what you want. Here's the money. It's cash. Here. He's like, all right then. I said, okay. I said, now don't forget, this whole time, that band is on the stage in the dark with people still saying James Brown. They are now hoarse and going deaf. I mean, it's like 10 minutes of this. I'm like, Mr. Brown, can we please start the show? I said, I gave you the money, because they always start with the band. He doesn't come out right away. The band will play like 2 instrumental numbers or something. And he's like, no, my wife has to count it. I'm like, oh, this is cuckoo for coconuts right here. You're talking about $6,250 in 20s. Okay? I look at her, I give her the money. She counts like this: 20, 40, 60, 80, 1. I'm like, oh my goodness, what is going on? This is Twilight Zone, dude. I'm telling you, I'm like, I'm starting to get, I'm out, by now I'm aggravated, because I'm like, this is just crazy. I gave you the money, count it. I said, Mr. Brown, if it's off, I'll pay you. I'm not trying to stiff you. Okay? The show is sold out. We're making money. Didn't matter. Sat there, she counted, and she says at the end, you're $20 short. I'm like, listen, I'm good for the $20. You need to start the show. Nice job, Mike. We're like 15 minutes late now. I said, we got 2 shows to do. I said, can't we just start the show? I'm giving my guy back to get the $20 down. He looks at me and goes, fine. I said, great. I walk out of there. I'm steaming upset. I'm like, it was like abusive. It was bizarre. I don't even know what to tell you what it was. I don't think he was trying to be abusive, but it just was like crazy. It was like crazy. So I walk back. I tell Shelby, I said, get the $20. I said, I'm going to stay up front. I give the band, my sound guy, the cue. Go ahead, they can start the band. The band starts. They're incredible. Maceo Parker's just ripping solos, running up and back and down the stage, sliding on his knees. Just great. And I'm like, cool, the band's really good. That's cool. But I'm still pretty ticked off. I'm like, I don't know if it's worth it. You know what I mean? It's like your dream is getting shattered almost. Anyway, so that happens, and then he's getting dressed while this is going on, obviously. And all of a sudden, Danny, Mr. Danny, Little Danny, whatever he calls him, shows up, and he does that whole great intro. The hardest working man in show business. Please, 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 Mr. I Feel Good. Then he runs down all his hits that he does. Like, if you've ever seen a show or even on TV or anything, they always do this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm enjoying it, but I'm still aggravated. Boom, James Brown comes out to the stage. And I'm like, the band's playing. He comes out to the stage. They stop dead. I mean, they're so tight, it's insane. Walks up to the microphone, doesn't say a word, smacks the microphone. It goes down to the floor. He does that thing with the wire where he catches it and pulls it back up, catches it with one hand, does a split, pops up to I Feel Good. I was like, oh my Lord, he's incredible. All the angst, everything was gone. I was like, this guy is crazy good. He put on one of the greatest shows. It was by far, I think, the best show we ever had. It might be it probably is the best show I've ever seen in person myself. And I've seen a fair amount of shows. And obviously, going to the bar on top of it. He killed it. He did not stop. That band didn't make one mistake that I could tell. He just blistered it. It was just mind-boggling how good they were. It was like, I can't even go. I'm dumbfounded now telling you. They get off the stage, they go back, I go back between sets, just make sure they got whatever they need. Everything seems totally normal, you know, water, whatever's not asking for anything crazy, nothing goofy, things seem pretty good. Comes out, does the second set, everything's the same, just kills it, plays forever. We're ecstatic. I'm like, kind of forgot all the craziness that went on and was thinking, wow, I just saw two of the greatest, sets that any human being's probably going to see from, from music, especially that style. And I was literally, 6 feet away, so you can't beat that. And he wraps it up, and the young guy that drove him, for life me, I wouldn't remember his name anyway. He came out and goes, hey, I go back to the dressing room. I said, and when, knock on the door when they're ready, take them back to the hotel. So I'm kind of standing there, the room's cleared out, and he comes out with his wife, and the young guy's going to drive, the chauffeur. And he walks up to me, and he goes, hey, do you think we can get some dinner? And I'm like, of course. I said, well, what do you want to go to? I'll pay for whatever dinner you want. This is true. He says, can your driver stop at Kentucky Fried Chicken on the way back? I'm like, James, you don't want a steak? You don't want lobster? You don't want anything? He goes, nope, I want Kentucky Fried Chicken. I said, okay. So I guess once a country guy, always a country guy. So I gave the kid like $20. That's all it cost. They went to, they left. I'm sure the kid told me later they stopped at Kentucky Fried Chicken, got a bucket, and took it back to the hotel. And that was the end of the show. So there you go. I told you it was a pretty long story, and but I think it's pretty interesting because what's funny is I ended up watching the movie about James Brown that was done recently within the last 2 years, and a lot of those quirks that I experienced happened a lot. If you watch it, you'll see it in the movie where like just odd things. He was like a kind of just a quirky guy, man. Obviously, it was the way he was raised. At least the movie makes it look like the way he was raised. I mean, he was raised in a whorehouse. He was abandoned. Had a really tough upbringing, and so it definitely, was probably skewed the way he looks at things compared to me. I'm a white kid from Connecticut, for crying out loud, 25-year-old kid, and he's, grew up, dirt poor in the South, toughest of times, and he made his way through it. Didn't have any advantages and made himself into the greatest soul singer of all time, maybe the greatest musician of all time, if you ask me. He writes all those songs. But that's my one night experience doing a concert with James Brown. So I'm going to get back to the video now. Hopefully that took you through the bulk of it. It's a really long, we shot a lot because this is the loop, one of our main loops that we ride. And I wanted to have the whole thing on tape because I wanted to just remember what this loop looks like. Because sometimes Mike's not with us, and I can't seem to find my way around this loop. I really wanted to have it on permanent tape so that I can use it again. Because if Mike's not around, I just love running this loop. It's probably an hour, maybe. I don't know exactly how long this is, but it's an hour's worth of riding, maybe longer. It's just like perfect for me. So, or us. I think we all like this one. There's some that are a lot tougher than the other guys. I think Mike and DRZ like a few more challenging spots. Not that this doesn't have its moments. I mean, look, there's a lot of water, a lot of mud, a lot of rock, but I think they really sometimes pick stuff that I'm glad I don't get. There's a way around it. I'm looking. So I'm probably going to sign off here. I hope you enjoyed. If you enjoying the video, keep watching or fast forward it, because there's a spot in here. I am notorious for getting stuck in bad spots, water, mud, and this particular day I made it through. This is the sand track we use. This is a really cool little motocross track. Mike's going to do laps practicing for J-Day. I should have kept my camera on. I turned it off, but you'll see he's flying. This is a little piece coming out of it, but we're going to leave it. He rode probably 10 or 15 minutes straight on that thing, just blistering it, trying to get his motocross stuff going and his his endurance going, because it's really grueling. Look, this is nasty. There's a lot of water on this stuff, a lot of mud, and for once I didn't get stuck. Look at this stuff. But you'll see later on, Mike sticks it in a really, really bad spot. It's pretty funny, because I was thinking, yep, I'm glad he went first, because I would have followed him right in, like I did right here. Look how deep this is. It's pretty deep, trust me. And it takes a while to get out of it. So it's like, finally someone other than me is stuck in the mud, because usually these guys have to come and bail me out. Luckily, Mike is real fit and strong. He can pull it out, because I was like, I'll come in there. You want me to come in here? He's like, no. And I'm like, I'm glad he's saying no, because it was cold. Don't forget, it's still winter. It's maybe 50, 45 down. I don't know. Look at all this water. It's like water and mud. That's all we seem to ride this day. Crossing a lot of streams. So yeah, if you stick with it. If not, see, just fast forward. I think you get a kick out of it. He sticks it deep. I mean, it's really deep. And good on him for having to battle his way out of it. So anyway, that's the end of the talking part. Enjoy the rest of the video, or turn it off. I get it. And comment if you think the stories are worth telling, because I have about 50, probably more than that, of these stories that are different musicians that we did. The Red Hot Chili Peppers is a really wild story. REM is a pretty wild story. There's so many of them, because James Brown's is a little more extreme, because I couldn't understand what he was saying. But the bulk of these guys are really quirky. I gotta tell you, you spend a couple hours, 4 or 5 hours, you're like, they're different, man. These really top musicians are they're a different crew, for sure. All right, that's enough talking about it. Bye.
How about how much water's in the reservoir now?
Yeah, I know.
That was crazy. Ha ha! Use that cold start, like the black one. Want help? Oh, you're in there deep, man. Woo! Oh man, that would suck if you're out of gas. You're in there deep, deep. Oh, it should start. You pulling that cold start, that black? Okay. Huh. That's weird, huh? Yeah, that's not the starter. That's... You didn't get water in it, did it? No way. You're way above the... You need me to come in there? No. It looks deep. What a spot to get stuck. Are you in gear?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because it looks like the back... Oh no, the back wheel's not turning.
It's not?
No, you're in gear. Maybe that's why it was stalling. Try starting it now. Maybe it was because it was in gear or something weird. No, it ran a little bit.
I think it's the tubes are underneath.
Oh. Okay. Well, let me come pull the front. All right. Let me know. That's weird. That's weird, huh? Yeah. It doesn't draw any water that way, though, right? No. It does?
No.
Then that's weird. You think you're good? You want to check the air filter to see if it got any water, or you want to just roll? Okay. If it runs right, then it's fine. If it acts weird, then you know. Okay, cool. It was just something weird. I shouldn't have stopped. Ah. Attack it, baby. Let's go. Kill it.